Focuses on core concepts and creates a way to measure a student's achievement in basic subjects that are taught in all schools. In general, those who study and care more about the tests tend to do better than those who slack off and don't study. It's not a way to measure a student's intelligence, but rather a tactic to illustrate one's hard work.
Another main reason for the existence of standardized testing is that it is a way for colleges to decide which students they would like to admit and which they would not. While this is not necessarily a fair way to assess a student's success in school, most colleges look at standardized testing when it comes to admissions. According to Peterson's, around 80% of four-year colleges/institutions still use standardized testing in college admissions, which is why it is really pivotal to understand. In a few slides, we will delve deeper into the standardized testing and its role in college admissions.
Finally, standardized testing is very efficient. While it takes up a lot of students' and teachers' time, it also saves time for many others. Tests are typically administered a few times a year, and hundreds of thousands of students are able to take these tests on this one particular day. And there are thousands of testing sites, and many tests are often on the one particular day, including the famous SAT subject tests, which test students' achievement in other areas of study besides the Common Core. As we've examined the pros of standardized testing, we'll now delve into the darker side of these assessments. The standardized testing system may seem like a good way to test students, but at the same time it is often detrimental to a student's classroom experience and may impact them in the long run, and when applying to colleges as well as to grad school.
One of the main reasons why standardized testing is not desirable is because the testing is very time-consuming, which can cause stress in students. Standardized testing takes time to prepare for, and in doing so, students often lose time doing other normal activities that they would have done. According to a study on standardized testing, students usually spend around 20 hours studying for one standardized test. This time studying leads to a loss in sleep, which can cause teenagers to not function or perform as well as they normally would. According to the Office of Adolescent Health, high schoolers need 9 to 10 hours of sleep every night, but with the given circumstances, standardized testing brings students less than their sleeping time.
Not only does standardized testing cause students to sleep less, negative stress is also created when students spend too much time studying. Students have extracurriculars and school to devote their time to, and on top of that, they have to now spend more time to study for these standardized tests. In general, as stated by Washington Post, students spend 60 to 110 hours on average preparing for standardized testing each year. All this time can attribute to a student's success on this test, which oftentimes contributes to the success given by standardized testing, or stress. Additionally, parents and teachers often create negative stress in students, telling them that they need to perform at a certain level. Some parents and teachers pressure their kids to do well, creating stress in students. Teachers oftentimes desire a better reputation, so they spend a lot of class time preparing for these tests, in an attempt for students to do better. Schools also pressure students to do well, as students' success on these tests oftentimes factor into school rankings. In conclusion, when students are overstressed, they go into a so-called fight or flight mode, and higher level thinking is inaccessible. Students no longer participate in as many activities, and oftentimes lose a lot of motivation in life. Those who normally perform well in school and participate in school activities no longer do so, and school becomes overstressful for many students.
Alongside negative stress created for students, standardized testing also creates stress for teachers. Teachers experience stress when they have to create curriculum to prepare students for these tests. This curriculum is oftentimes very boring, hard to teach, and can be different for each standardized test. According to the National Education Association study, a majority of teachers found some level of pressure to improve testing scores. In fact, 72% of these teachers found an extreme or high level of pressure from both the school and board administration. Arne Duncan, the U.S. Secretary of Education, reported that standardized testing was sucking oxygen out of the classroom and also causing unnecessary stress.
Besides creating new curriculum, teachers oftentimes produce stress for themselves while they pressure students to do well. Teachers are oftentimes given pressure by the school and board administration to improve student scores, and in return, they pressure the students to do better. Overall, this negative stress between students and teachers creates a negative school environment. According to the National Education Association, 42% of teachers felt that standardized testing had a negative effect on the classroom, whereas only 15% argued that it affected them positively. Not only does stress have mental and emotional effects on you, stress also has physical effects. This video describes the various ways the stress affects your body.
Cramming for a test, trying to get more done than you have time to do. Stress is a feeling we all experience when we are challenged or overwhelmed. But more than just an emotion, stress is a hardwired physical response that travels throughout your entire body. In the short term, stress can be advantageous, but when activated...
Good morning, staff. There are treats in the workroom.
Fight stress response not only changes your brain, but also damages many of the other organs and cells throughout your body. Your adrenal gland releases the stress hormones cortisol, epinephrine, also known as adrenaline, and norepinephrine. As these hormones travel through your bloodstream, they easily reach your blood vessels and heart. Adrenaline causes your heart to beat faster and raises your blood pressure, over time causing hypertension.
As you can see, standardized testing can often cause stress, which has many physical effects as well.
Alongside stress created for multiple individuals, standardized testing is misleading. One of the reasons why this may be the case is the obvious Scantron or answer sheet mistake yield. However, these tests are often misleading for more reasons, many including that students may not perform as well on a certain day due to personal issues. The test does not take all areas of student intelligence into consideration, and socioeconomic factors oftentimes contribute to a student's success on standardized tests.
The misleading characters of standardized testing can often be attributed to socioeconomic statuses of various students. Students of high socioeconomic status can pay for tutoring, retesting, and setting their scores to colleges, whereas students of low socioeconomic status don't have as much motivation, learning resources, and often a lack of good school environment. According to the National Center of Educational Statistics, in 2007, a high school dropout rate among persons 16 to 24 years old was highest in low-income families, 16.7%, as compared to high-income families, 3.2%. An example for academic statistic as affected by socioeconomic status.
While economic status certainly causes standardized tests to be misleading, the fact that most standardized tests occur in one day also make it misleading. If students are having a bad day or do not get as much sleep the night before, they will not perform as well on the test as they would have if they were having a good day. Many students who do poorly on standardized tests are very intelligent, but due to their bad night of sleep or being sick, they don't perform as well as they could have.
Finally, the one-day testing situation is obviously misleading, as many students experience testing stress and do not perform well. Imagine this. You, like most high school students across the United States, are going to take the SAT or ACT. Your entire life rests on this test. If you do well, you can get into a good college, which will lead to the job of your dreams. Because of the incredible weight on this test, you're incredibly anxious. Even though you know you studied and you're thoroughly prepared, when the test day comes, your anxiety and stress psych you out, and you do poorly on the test. Sadly, this is the case for many, and the reality and major downside to tests like these.
In addition to economic statuses, the one-day testing situation, standardized testing is misleading because some test takers don't speak English as their primary language. According to the United States Census Bureau, only 8% of American students say that they speak English at a level less than very well. Standardized tests are usually only given in English. Even if the student knows English, they still have to translate their English to the language that they know in their head, so they might not fully comprehend everything they're reading. Their English vocabulary also might not be at a level to be tested on the same words.
In addition to added stress and misleading statistics, standardized testing also does not spend so that teachers and students time well. High school students and teachers should be instead spending their time and effort on college applications. Doing well in class is crucial for them to graduate. Also, in elementary school, the young students are getting their hard-earned recess time taken away to work on the standardized test prep that really has no effect on their future.
In most instances, only some subjects are tested, and oftentimes many other subjects are left behind. In this way, students aren't well-rounded because they can do certain subjects well, but aren't that great at others. Throughout standardized tests given across the country, math, science, and reading are much more heavily tested than the others left behind, such as arts, history, as well as physical education. When this happens, children are not being tested on all of their abilities and are often unable to express their entirety of their strengths.
Therefore, standardized testing focuses too much class time to teaching to these standardized tests, and not enough time teaching to the curriculum that the teachers have been teaching to in the past. The weeks before the test are just preparation for the test. The teacher's personal curriculum is embedded for over a month just so that students can do well on these standardized tests. Now we have a video that shows the effects of new Common Core on standardized testing.
Did you know that because of the new standardized testing programs related to the Common Core state standards, that public school students will spend more time each year being tested and less time actually learning? For example, elementary school students will spend more time taking state standardized tests this year than a law school student spends taking the bar exam, and more time than the exams required to become a police officer, teacher, or school superintendent. Now, some people say we need all this testing to increase student learning and hold teachers accountable. But what do these tests really tell us about learning and quality teaching? Actually, not much. For tests to provide diagnostic information about student learning, there must be at least 20 to 25 questions for each skill in each standard being tested. None of these new tests have that many questions.